This channel is about how a newbie fisherman like me becomes a fishing sage through all the failures I encounter. Feel free to join me on this journey, and most importantly, let's catch some dinner.
Okay. Fishing stage here. We have an exciting catch and cook video today. One of the best tasting fish, in my opinion, from the ocean is the flounder. Now we're going to be cooking this pretty basic, again, GBSP, because the flounder really doesn't need that much seasoning at all. It's really good meat just by itself, as long as you cook it, fully cook it just right and not overcook it. So let's get to it. With most fish, what you want to do is you want to rinse it off to make sure all the dirt is off the fish as much as you can. We're going to actually fillet this and take the skin off, so it doesn't matter too much, but it's best to take all the little critters that might be attached to it off and stuff like that. So it's best to wash it as best as you can. After it's been washed, you want to go ahead and gut it and take out all the guts that's right here. And for a flounder, it's all located right here. It's kind of like his stomach, right there. So what I like to do is I like to actually cut the head off. It actually makes it easier for me to work with. So I just go in here, right by where the gill ends, and go ahead and cut through the head and just cut it right off. If you have a better knife, that would be great. And I think I'm gonna go do that. Find a better knife to cut this with. Actually, no, I think I can do this. Yeah, just the bone is actually pretty hard on a flounder, so you might have to, use some strength to cut it. But if you go back and forth and just try to cut it, it'll cut through in time. So yeah, that's the head that's been cut. Go ahead and cut all the way through to the skin, and make sure you completely detach the head so that you have access to the guts. And the reason why I'm doing this is because some people are really good at finding where the gut line ends right here, but I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an opening here where the head is, and then pull the guts out from there. So you can kind of see the guts kind of following the head out. If you can, go ahead and pull on it after cutting the head enough, and then the guts should follow it out like that. Really simple, really easy, and you just go ahead and clip this out. Now, I'm suspecting, after seeing this white things, I'm suspecting that this one actually has eggs. If so, I want to save those eggs and cook it separately. So I'm going to see if I can save those eggs. So the head and the gut is out.
Can I see the eggs? Can I see the eggs?
Not yet.
Let's see if I can find these eggs in here. Go ahead and make a cut here. So right here is basically bone because of this fin. So it's actually safe to go ahead and cut into the skin around here and see what you've got.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what that was that turned black. That's actually not normal, so I think I may have hit something that, yeah, no, there's no eggs in there. I don't see any eggs, so I'm just gonna wash this off and go ahead and fillet it like I normally fillet any other flounder. Maybe I should check this side too. Yeah, I'm gonna check this side too, just to make sure there aren't any eggs. Usually it's the bigger flounders that have eggs, so smaller flounders you usually don't really need to check. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see anything. Oh, I see a very small something in there maybe. But that's really too small to care. So we're just gonna ignore it. I see something really small, but maybe it's underdeveloped. We're just gonna ignore that and just go ahead and fillet this thing normally. Okay, here we go. Washing this weird stuff that I don't really know about. See, it just washes right off. There's no issue there. Go ahead and wash it off and back to square one with clean meat. Now this is the bloodline in here, just like a trout. So you want to scratch it all out. I like to use a nice tip right here, and then go ahead and cut this membrane that allows the blood to flow out easily. Like that, just with water. After you cut the main membrane, you scratch it out like that. It's kind of hard to do while you guys can watch it on the camera, but yeah, it's really easy if you're doing it without trying to get it on camera and just scratching it off as you'd like it. Okay, so most of it is out. So we're not going to worry about that anymore. Most of it is out, so that's good. And when we fillet it, we don't get that part of the meat anyway. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to start with the darker side, the back, and I just follow the fin line here, and then start following the bone line, find the bone line, and go ahead and start cutting into the meat. Making sure that your hand is far away from the knife and your knife is just on the fish. Feeling your way through, and once you have a bit of a cut, you can look into the fish and find that bone line. You can see the bone line right there. So I'm going to avoid the bone line and start cutting in to get that meat. I'm going to cut this part out here. Bone line. Bone lines are very useful in finding where that meat is. Okay, so a lot of meat has already been detached from the bone. And the more you cut into the fish, the easier it gets because you get that grip. And flounders don't really have a very strong pin bone, so you're actually able to cut through quite easily into the other side of the meat. So be careful not to puncture it too far. You don't want to ruin the meat. So take it slow and go ahead and cut over the middle bone right here in an angled way here, and just inch your way through the fish. There's a couple of pin bones here that I'm going to break. You might be able to hear it, but just a couple of pin bones right here. Actually, I'm not going to worry about that too much. Okay, so now on the other side, and start to see this clean, beautiful meat that is available for you. I'm actually gonna cut through these pin bones right here. Just getting in my way. Okay. Now that the pin bones are gone, you can see that I'm able to access the meat directly, quite easily. And there you go. Ooh, look at that. That is a beauty. So that's one fillet, one side. You can cut all the way here, and after you've gone to the fin portion, you can just cut the skin right there and kind of even rip it out. Just like that. And one side is done. Look at that meat. Oh my gosh. That was so good. And any kind of debris that's on it, you just wash it out and get that delicious meat. Okay, now the other side is not that tricky at all. It's the same thing, but now the fish is flat. You just have to take that into consideration. So same thing, start at the fins. Don't really care about too much of the meat there. It's mostly bone. If you're good enough to save that, go right ahead and try. I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying for me, it's way too difficult. Let's get to the main meat here. Okay, I just need to find that bone line right there, and then once I made that initial cut, it becomes so much easier to fillet the rest. Okay, I missed one here. There we go. Yeah, so when the fish is flatter, I find it more easier. Sometimes people find it harder when the fish is flat. I think it's easier when the fish is flat, but that's just me.
It's satisfying to watch.
I'm glad you like it. Okay, so same way, I'm gonna get rid of the pin bones here so I have better access to the meat. Make sure that your hand is always behind the knife. You see my hand? My fingers are always behind the knife so that it's away from the edge, so that I'll never cut myself with that knife. I missed a whole chunk of meat there. I'm gonna go back to get it. I'll just get it right now. Go ahead and cut it. You can actually eat that meat too. So add it to the meat pile here. Okay, so now that the pinwheels are gone, it's much easier for me to fillet the fish. Just angle down my knife and just go into the bone and get as much meat as I can, just like that. Alright, there we go. Most of it is off, so I'm just gonna cut through the skin here and we'll have our second fillet off this fish. Done. It's all bone that is left. We don't need any of that. Just wash it down. And boy, does that look good. Okay, so the final step that I take, you guys actually don't need to do this if you like the taste of the skin of flounders. You actually don't need to do this, but I do it because I actually don't like the taste of the skin on any flounder or bottom fish. So that's just me. You don't have to do this extra step, but this is how you go ahead and skin the fish. You can either grab the edge somewhere that you can, and then you can pull it off the skin, but you do that while the fish is still intact. At this point, after you fillet it, you want to go ahead and fillet it again away from the skin. And how you do that is you start from the tail, you give a little bit of space here and you cut in, and then you immediately angle it so that you're actually cutting underneath the meat near the skin. And then you kind of scratch your way across right underneath the meat next to the skin, and you're actually able to skin the meat, moving the knife side to side like this all the way to the end, like that. And you kind of want to use a knife that's dull, slightly dull, because if it's too sharp, it'll actually cut through the skin way too easily. So this is bone here, and you can get rid of that later, but this is a completely done fillet of a flounder. There we go. The second one here, you do the same thing. You go in from the tail area and you kind of scratch your way across. I say scratch because, you know, I'm really not trying to cut through the skin, just lifting the meat off of the skin, really. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Okay, the fillets are done. Now what we do is make sure that these flaws are taken care of, that most of the blood, if possible, is taken out of the meat. And that's the finished product. Let's go cook it. All right, so the filleting is done. Look at that white meat. Now, people go crazy over halibut, but you know, honestly speaking, I go crazy over flounder. So, in my opinion, flounder is actually better than halibut because halibut, some of it can get really dry, and it's not very good when the halibut is dry. But flounder, fresh flounder, is so moist, and it's just so good. It has that flavor that I can't describe. So you're gonna have to try it for yourself. But fresh flounder, filleted completely, no skin, GBSP is amazing. So I have a little bit of olive oil on here. I'm going to add a stick of butter on it to give it that butter flavor.
A piece of butter. You said a stick of butter. That's a lot of butter.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit of butter. Yeah, I'm gonna be back.
Hi. And bye. Mischievous. Chima? Yeah, what you doing?
Okay, I'm back. So the butter is almost completely melted. Now what you don't want is for the butter to burn. So you want to use medium heat, like that. The fish really doesn't need high heat, any kind of fish actually. They cook very easily. So here it is, the first fillet going on. Oh, look at that sizzle. Listen to that sizzle. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is gonna be so good, guys. Oh man. I know the taste of this fish and it is just amazing. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be really good. Now what I like to do at this time is I add the salt now. Just sprinkle some on. That's good enough. And then the garlic powder goes on, of course. GBSP, fishing sage, and the pepper. Usually I like to simply season one side of the fish, and the other side I would just simply salt it only. That way you kind of get a contrast of the taste between the seasoning and the non-seasoned part of the fish, and that contrast of the taste actually makes the seasoning accentuate itself, and it's better that way. So I recommend you guys try that. And listen to that sizzle. It is music to my ears. Oh my goodness. The only fish, perhaps, that may contend with halibut and even be better than halibut, I say, is the flounder. It has to be the flounder. It can't be sand dabs. It can't be the rock soles. It has to be the flounder. Make sure you get the species right. Flounder tastes absolutely amazing.
What are you doing?
She's just playing with onions. Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Perfectly pan-fried fish. Oh man, the smell is amazing. Guys, I wish you guys were here to smell this together with me. It smells amazing.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Mom.
Oh, and one other thing about this fish, it's a bit flaky, so it breaks off pretty easily. So, you know, chopsticks is not the best. I'll be back. Chopsticks is not the best tool to use to flip these things. So sometimes I use a spoon.
Oh boy.
So this episode is called Sailing Stage, not Fishing Stage. Okay. Well, that's good enough, I'd say. Ooh. So some people actually like to eat flounder raw. Now, if you're planning to eat flounder raw, make sure that you do two things. One, that you get it down to 0 degrees Celsius to kill any bacteria that will be killed by that. And then two, that you check for worms and what's the third one? I forget. But those two you really have to do. Make sure that it reaches 0 degrees Celsius. You can do that in the freezer or you can do it with ice. And that you visually check it for worms. And I like to flip it a second time around just to make sure that it gets that golden outer crisp to it. This is not ready yet. Okay, the fish is done. I'm going to transfer it to the plate. There's better ways to do this. Remember, if you use a spatula or something, then you can transfer it whole if you want, but I really don't care because I eat it by pieces anyway. So I'm just going to throw it on there like this. Ooh. Oh, that looks so good. That looks so good, guys. Oh. Oh. Okay. Done. Let's take it to our fishing stage table and have a taste. Welcome to the fishing stage table. The menu is Flounder GBSP. Now I want you guys to see this close up, so I'm going to lift up the one I'm going to eat to you. Look at that. On the other side. Here we go. So the meat is really, really soft. It's not chewy at all. It just melts in your mouth, and all the juices, the butter, the garlic, the salt and pepper, all the juices kind of get absorbed into the meat, and it oozes out as you eat it, as the meat is kind of melting in your mouth. I'll have to have another one. And when you get that golden outer crisp to it, oh. You know, I want to say that this is the best fish to eat. Now, when I catch fresh salmon and eat that this year, you know, I may change my comment, but for this year, out of all of the catch and cooks that we've done, this by far has been the best. So, flounders are around all summer long. If you're able to grab some squid, I'm probably going to do a video on how to catch a flounder. And I'm going to help you catch this very thing that I'm eating now. Well, that's it for today. Catch that dinner.